Hey, welcome to Grounded with John Tester and Maritza Giorgio. We wanted to invite you on. We're going to just do a few headlines here. We have a really interesting episode. We're going to go live with Josh Turek. He is an Iowa state representative, but he just announced he's running for Senate. I've seen his ad campaign everywhere. So we're going to get into the weeds with him, but go over some headlines first. Hey, how are you? How's the harvest?
Well, it's going. Yeah. So I tell you what happened. So I started cutting a week ago, well, last Monday. Okay. And I've got a pickup reel on my combine, and one of the tubes in the pickup reel broke. So I called up. They didn't have one, so they had to get one in from Missouri.
Ooh.
So I go ahead and order it, and told them what to order, and they said it'll be in by Thursday or Friday. So yesterday I called them up, and they said, "Well, we can't find it, so now we got to have another one." Now, yeah, and I got the thing glued together with baling wire and duct tape right now, making it work.
Uh-oh.
It's the world we live in, man. It's insane. But
Uh-oh.
I'd tell you I was pissed, but I'm beyond that. So uh, hopefully
Yeah,
that
okay.
hopefully I'll have one by. Oh, here, this is what I was going to say. For anybody that's a farmer out there that knows where there's a 36-foot Draper header that'll work on a 2588 Case IH combine, I'm in the market for one of those, okay? Because I get rid of the header, get rid of the reel, get rid of everything. I'm like, go with the Draper header. I had one, but it was somebody else's troubles. It required so goddamn much work that I'd still be working on it if we'd had it here.
Okay, wait. A 36-inch Draper header?
36-foot
Oh, foot.
Draper header that fits the 2588 combine. Now, Case IH makes them, MacDon makes them. There's maybe some other folks out there that I'm not aware of that makes them. But
Okay.
I need
We
something
will.
that's in good shape, though. I don't need a piece of shit. I got plenty of that stuff. So
Okay, we'll plug it again at the end in case anybody
you
else
don't
is
have to,
listening.
but whatever. I mean, I just throw a little farming stuff in there. So
Oh, we
the
like
key
it.
is it's got to work on a 2588 Case IH combine because there's plenty around, but they work on newer combines than I got.
uh okay, well, if you came for the farm content, the ag content, there you
It's
go. You
done.
are
It's
satisfied.
over with. But
I want to
harvest is going okay. Thanks for asking.
Okay, good. Let's just talk about a few headlines before we bring in Josh. New this morning, seeing that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is going to visit DC, I assume the White House, on Monday. This comes after no deal was reached between President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin yesterday. They met for about 3 hours in Alaska. No announcement, no deal to end the war in Ukraine. And we should mention that Ukrainian President Zelensky was not even invited to this meeting. There was supposed to be a news conference after. Neither president took questions, though, and Trump seemed a little bit deflated after the meeting. As NBC News reports, though, he perked up. He perked up when Putin said the war in Ukraine wouldn't have happened had Trump been in office. So I'm not sure what kind of admission that is, but go for it. What do you think?
Well, shit, if it had been that easy, why did he invade Ukraine? And why does it cost their economy billions of dollars? And why does it cost them hundreds of thousands of lives? Yeah, well, it's nice. I mean, I think he was playing to the judge, actually. I think he played. Well, first of all, let me back up. I applaud Donald Trump's efforts to try to get an end to this war. And I think he needs to do it with Ukraine in mind, not with Vladimir Putin in mind. But I do applaud the effort. I think he got played. I think Putin wanted to have a national stage even more than Donald Trump wanted a national stage. And I think that's what this was all about for Putin, anyway. I don't think he wants to end that war. He wants to take over Ukraine. That's why he invaded him to begin with. And I think the fact that he says certain things to the president that would make the president perk up, like, well, we wouldn't invade it if Donald would have been in office. Doesn't pass the smell test, by the way, for most people that were there. That most people have been watching. And secondly, he also, I listened to it, by the way, while I was on the combine yesterday. He also talked about all the positive qualities that Trump had. That's how you play it, man. I mean, that's how you do it. That's why Zelensky screwed up in February. He told him the truth, and JD Vance and Donald Trump went ape shit over false information, which is just total bullshit. But let's put it in the words. Look, I don't compliment the president a lot on a lot he does, but I think the fact they tried to meet with Putin and tried to come to a deal I think he had the right thing in mind. I think it's the right action, but I do think this is Putin got what he wanted out of this. That's why they didn't have a press conference afterwards. That's why they didn't take questions. I don't think anything came of this. I would bet you right now they're bombing the shit out of Ukraine, and we continue to you know do things that allow Putin to be the kind of dictator, absolute ruler that he is. And I think maybe President Trump's starting to get his a gut full of this bullshit that most Americans have had a full gut on since they were little kids on Russia, and it's not the Russian people, it's their leadership. But we don't want to be like them. We should never give Putin compliments about him being a good leader because he's not. He's a goddamn killer, and we ought to continue to figure out ways to put pressure on him. I haven't heard anything about the tariffs, by the way. They were supposed to be put on the 1st of August, and hopefully they are put on. Hopefully we continue to do more because the only way you're going to get Putin to uh, bring this war to an end is to bring him to his knees, and he's a lot further from his knees now than he was 6, 8 months ago.
Yeah, the Fox News correspondent came out and she said that it seemed like Putin came in and steamrolled, got right into what he wanted to say, got his photo next to the president and left. So we'll keep watching.
Yeah,
I hope that we don't see an exchange on Monday at the White House like we saw the last time Zelensky visited, but we will see.
yeah,
We'll
I
have a
hope
lot to
not.
talk about.
One of these are my words. These came from a reporter that said that they thought that if there was a deal there, that Donald Trump would have claimed victory because oftentimes he claims victory when there isn't victory. So it was that reporter's opinion that they weren't even close.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. All right, let's do one more headline and then we will bring in Josh. Do you remember how Trump fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner because he didn't like the job report numbers?
Yeah, I do remember.
Okay. It wasn't that long ago. Well, he replaced her with a guy named E.J. Antony, and he is an economist at the Heritage Foundation. If you recognize that, that's because they put together Project 2025. He's been accused of misrepresenting numbers and statistics, but people are zooming in on something else, actually, literally images, because he was pictured in a crowd outside of the United States Capitol on January 6th. And the White House says he was just a bystander.
He was just out there smoking a cigar, watching the action. I mean, that's what everybody was doing. They were watching the nation's capital getting the windows broke out of it and people running through the halls with Confederate flags. He was just an innocent bystander. Look, did we expect anything different? So here's the deal. Congress has a chance to make sure that they act like Congress and hold the executive branch accountable. This guy is not fit to be labor statistics or probably anything else. The and so hopefully he doesn't get confirmed. But this is par for the course. If you don't like the numbers, shoot the messenger, and that's what he did on the wage on the
Well,
employment numbers.
I just read an article, I think it was in Politico, about produce prices and tariffs and
Yeah,
immigration. And he's not going to like these numbers because the Bureau of Labor Statistics reported on Thursday, after all this happened, that we've seen a whopping 38.9% increase in wholesale dry and fresh vegetable prices
and
from
that's
June
only,
to
by the
July.
way, that's due in part to the tariffs, and that's due in part to booting all the farm workers out that they're picking at. And I'll tell you, the people out there that watch this know this, but if you leave lettuce in the field, it goes rotten. It doesn't stick around for another 3, 4 months for somebody to pick. It goes rotten and it's done. And it's the same thing with cantaloupe. It's the same thing with all produce. They have a lifespan, and if people don't get, you don't have people out there to harvest them, they're gone. It's not like wheat. I can take wheat as long as it's dry and put it in a bin. It'll stay there. Well, hell, there was wheat in the pyramids. It'll stay there forever. Produce is different. If it's not picked and refrigerated, it's gone. And so, yeah, it's about tariffs and it's also about workforce.
Okay, well, let's continue talking about ag because we have Josh Turek with us here now. He is an Iowa state representative. He's running for United States Senate in a crowded field already, I will say, running for Joni Ernst's seat. That's hard to say. Hey, thanks for joining us, Josh.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you,
So how
Senator.
many? It's also good to have you running. But so how many? Good to have you running. Good to have you on the podcast. Good that you're involved in public service. Good that you're involved in the state. There's a lot of good stuff about Josh Turek. So tell me, how many opponents do you have on the Democratic side?
Five at the moment.
Five.
Five of us in there. Yeah, I think that shows a lot of energy out here in Iowa. That everywhere you go, people are feeling these winds of change, and that Iowa ultimately we're a common sense state. We're not a red state, and I think people are feeling that. People want to get involved. People are tired of Joni Ernst and the well, we're just all going to die. So we've got a lot of good people lining up to try to be off the state, preach the gospel here.
So
Let me just interject really quick because there are already two Republicans running also
That
is
that
is
that
true.
part?
aren't
Is
that
that
aren't
part of the
Joni.
five? Is that part of the
No,
five? The two
no,
Republicans.
5 Democrats and 2 other Republicans. Joni hasn't announced yet what she's doing. Sorry, go ahead, Senator.
Oh, so when is the primary?
June.
Your first Tuesday in June?
Yeah, June 26th. That's right.
June 26th, last Tuesday
No,
in
no,
June.
June.
Uh,
No, next year.
Yeah, I know.
oh,
But
Yeah,
June
yeah.
of
First
20
Tuesday in June.
June
Yeah, June
of
of
June of
26th.
25th, the
2026.
first
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tuesday in June of 26. I'm a little
that
slow
is
this morning.
that is right. Don't
I
no
got in late
worries.
last night. You got to cut me a little slack.
Do
Well,
you
that's just,
you prefer that I call you Senator, or should I call you JT? They always called me JT, my basketball
Oh,
career.
no.
you know,
I just think
uh,
we found the name of this podcast, JT. Yeah.
yeah, I never made that connection that you had my initials. You stole my initials, damn it. That's all right. What can I say? You can call me JT. You can call me anything that Marisa doesn't call me because usually there's a cuss word involved when she's talking to me. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Um, well, cool. So let's just get down to the basic stuff. Okay. This is what when you go to the doors or you're in front of a group, you have to be able to tell people why you're running. Why should people vote for Josh Turek over the other four people in the Democratic primary? And more importantly, why should they vote for him in the general election rather than a Joni Ernst or a clone of Joni Ernst?
Yeah, I come from a working class community out here in Council Bluffs. We got 65% of people living at or below the poverty line. I'm someone that grew up in a very large working class family. I'm somebody that overcame a lot of healthcare adversity. I was born with a condition called spina bifida, left me in a wheelchair, had my first surgery at 1 day old, had 21 surgeries by the age of 12, all of which took place at Shriners Hospital. It was the only way that my family could afford it. Went on to do some great things with basketball, got a college scholarship through basketball and with vocational rehabilitation. Went on to play professional wheelchair basketball in several places around the world, and then I had the ability to represent my country in 4 Paralympic Games and won 4 gold medals. I'm sorry, 2 gold medals in 4 Paralympic
Yeah.
Games. Early for me too, JT. And been a director of a nonprofit organization giving back for disabled kids to have access to adaptive sports because of the huge impact it made in my life. And I also was working when I finished basketball. I was assessing and providing wheelchairs for the disabled, working with disabled children and newly injured individuals just to be a role model for them. But specifically, I was working with individuals with Lou Gehrig's disease and muscular dystrophy. And every single day, we were inundated with denial rates and delay rates because Iowa, we privatized our Medicaid system. We were showing internally 1,000% increase in denial rates on power wheelchairs. And I thought, this is fundamentally wrong. I had done a little bit of research and found out that in Iowa, even though we've got 1 in 5 Iowans with some form of a disability, that in the 150-year history of the state and a governing body of 150 members, we had never had a permanently disabled member. The Capitol wasn't even fully accessible. I mean, it's a people's house. There wasn't even ramps to be able to operate it. And I thought that was fundamentally wrong. I thought that this was why we were having so many unnecessary barriers to education and employment and certainly on the healthcare side of things. And so I said, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and I'm going to go out there and run. And in 22, it was not going to be a good year for Democrats. I'm in the most western part of the state, which is very deeply red. And people thought that I couldn't do it. And I went out every single day and I crawled stairs, dragging my wheelchair up there. I had conversations everywhere. I didn't define people by their political affiliations. I went out and talked to Republicans and independents and Democrats day after day. And thankfully, at the end of that, I ended up winning my first election by just 6 votes. So no one can ever tell me that their vote doesn't matter in the process. That was outperforming by 13 points. And in this most recent election, which was actually even worse, for Democrats out here. I ended up winning by nearly 6 points in a county that Trump won by 20 points. And in the two communities that I represent, double-digit Trump victories. And I did that without having to betray my Democrat like core values. But I went out there and I talked about the kitchen table issues and saying, here's who I am. This is what I'm about, and here's what, and that's what people want from their legislators. They want people that are genuine, that have like a genuine empathy for the common man and for what people are going through. Everywhere in my community, I'm seeing people that are struggling just to keep food on the table, keep their lights on, having to make the decision of, do I take my medication, do I take my pills, or do I pay my bills? It's fundamentally wrong, and I'm seeing too many people struggle just to exist. I mean, too many people that are having to declare medical bankruptcy because they didn't win the genetic lottery, or having to divorce their spouse, or these social safety nets that have allowed me to be successful in my life being torn down and eroded, like the big, beautiful bill. And Joni Ernst coming out there and saying, well, tough luck, we're all going to die. And Iowans deserve better than that. They deserve someone that's going to go out there and fight for the people and fight for small businesses and small farms and for working families, as opposed to just looking out for big business and corporations and lobbyists and billionaires. That's why I'm running.
Well, that's a mouthful. I would also say that that we're all going to die comment was somewhat stupid. Her response to that, by the way, was even worse. Talking about the
Yes,
Easter Bunny, but was more troubling to me than even that was when she came out and said, Pete Hegseth is not the right guy to be Secretary of Defense. And after a little bit of pressure, and I'm just talking a
yeah,
few hours of pressure, she flipped like one of my wife's pancakes on the grill. I mean,
yeah,
absolutely flipped and said, you know what? I decided he's pretty good at this. Well, it's turned out she was right in the first place. And I think if
agreed.
one of the things that we totally lack in Washington, D.C. right now is backbone on the Republican side of the aisle. Nobody has the backbone to stand up and do what's right. And so, and by the way, if you get elected as a Democrat, it's the same thing. You got to have the backbone to tell whoever the leader is, Chuck Schumer or whoever else, this doesn't work in Iowa. Okay. So you ain't going to get my vote, right? And if you don't put up
I
a good qualified person to be in the cabinet, I ain't voting for the son of a bitch. Okay.
I agree. I agree 100%. When I am elected, I'm going to be out there representing Iowa and Iowans. And at the state level, I've done the same thing. I have parted with my party when I did not think that it benefited my community or my constituency or certainly Iowans. I'm not a blind tribalist. I'm someone that believes in country over party.
Yep.
And I vote my conscience, and I vote my district, which right now is Council Bluffs and Carter Lake. And if I'm fortunate enough to get up there to the Senate, that'll be doing what's best for Iowans. And that
Yep.
may not always agree with party leadership.
That's right. And that's one of the things about the big, beautiful bullshit bill that got passed.
I like that.
There was, Tom Tillis stands up and he goes, hey, man, this doesn't work for North Carolina. It ain't going to work for North Carolina. And he gets ridiculed. The president says, I'm going to run a MAGA against you. I think he had made the decision not to run before. But the truth is, he stood for something. He stood for something that North Carolinians believe in. And when truthfully, we need more of that. I don't think they'd have beat Tom Tillis if he'd ran for reelection, but that's fine. Democrats got a great candidate and the governor running there. So hopefully there's a potential pickup to put somebody with common sense
And
in the Senate.
and the big beautiful bullshit bill doesn't work for Iowans either. We've got 1 in 5 Iowans that are on Medicaid. 40% of those are kids. It's 2 in 5 in the rural communities. We're going to have 120,000 people at least end up losing their basic health care and also food assistance. Here in Iowa, you're looking at about 90% of those families that are on SNAP are either individuals that have a person with a disability in the family, an elderly person, poor children in the family, or a veteran.
But don't worry,
And
don't worry about that, Josh. They can all go out and pick vegetables in
oh, of
California,
course, yeah.
because all the workers have been shipped back to wherever the hell they came from to come in and do
Exactly. And with the
farm.
wild tariff programs, we're going to throw us back into a 1980s farm crisis.
Yep. Well, it's already happening.
I
Go
knew
ahead,
you guys would
Larissa.
have a lot to talk. Well, first I want to say Peg is rating us in the comment section that she worries every day that her special needs brother is going to lose all of his Medicare and support agency help. And, that is something that it came up a lot during the debate around the big, beautiful bill. But I just have to make a comment as a bystander here. You guys, I knew you'd have a lot to talk about. I didn't realize the JT. I didn't realize the JT, but I know you talk a lot about basketball. I know you talk yeah. Yeah.
Are, are you a basketball fan? You've got no team out that way.
it's, uh, it's
But
all good, man.
also, though, I mean, you live in ag communities, and you both were elected in states where Donald Trump won overwhelmingly. So there's a lot to talk about there, and probably a lot of commiserating to do. But I have to say though, Senator, I have some devastating news for you, and that is that Josh went to college in Minnesota.
Indeed.
She's not a golden gopher, is he?
No,
No, no, no,
no,
no.
Good, good.
no.
Well, good. I mean, then there's some hope for him.
There is some hope.
I went to a small college in Marshall, Minnesota called Southwest Minnesota State University. It's a university actually that was set up with individuals with disabilities in mind, and was one of the first universities that had wheelchair basketball as one of their sports
Oh
within
wow,
their athletic program. And when I was going there, I scored 4,000 career points and scored
Jesus!
63 points in a game. And yeah, I've got a lot of
Oh my
records up there that
God!
still sit.
So you and I got a lot in common. You scored 4,000 in my best game that I ever had in junior high. I think I scored 4 points. So I mean, we're close. We'll start with a four.
Congrats.
Were
Yeah.
you more of an assist guy? Because in my career, I had about 4 assists. I was somebody
No,
that was just chucking it up.
I was more of a guy that they put on the bench, and when we were down by 35 points, they'd send me in and say, "Win it for us, would you?" And so, yeah, I
Hey,
was the guy that
takes everyone on the team, you know?
I was the
Some
guy
guys are
that
meant to hand out the water.
that's right. Unless there was somebody that was sick that I played behind, I got a lot of slivers in my ass, but that's all right. I don't hold a judge. You know, I mean,
So,
it was fine. It was fine. No grudge here.
Hey, that's one of the nice things. There's very few
Yes.
things about being in a wheelchair that's nice.
Yeah.
One of the nice things is can't get any slivers in the ass. I'm in
Yeah.
the chair
that's
already.
right.
You're
Yeah,
already there.
gotta look at the bright side of things. Let's talk about your campaign launch video, because
Sure.
I have seen this shared all over the place, and there's a lot to unpack in it. First of all, let me just stick with basketball. Do you really take 1,000 shots a day? You really do you still do
I
that?
did. No, 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 no. The very last game that I played was the gold medal game in Tokyo. The athlete is going to die two deaths, and eventually Father Time is going to be undefeated. I also wanted the part B of my life to be try to be as successful as the part A, and the part A was very successful on the basketball side of things. I didn't want my last game to be some half, empty stadium in Germany. I had a gold medal around my neck. I had USA across my chest. I had the stars and stripes around my shoulder. I said, "This is it with my brothers. I'm done." This was what I'd always played for from day one, was to represent my country and win a gold medal. That's the last basketball game I will ever play.
Okay.
So
So
before you get to the serious shit, because I went into serious stuff. Now I want to back in. I watched they had a wheelchair basketball game once, I think when I was in high school or college. And they brought in these dudes in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you what, uh, how do you stop from getting hurt? I mean, they were crashing wheelchairs into one another, and it was insane. I mean,
Yeah, they're actually set up like light tanks, and they've got the guard in the front, and they're built specifically for us. I mean, to the millimeter. And I mean,
uh,
we're pushing it really high speed. This is actually my Paralympic shirt here from Tokyo. You can't avoid getting hurt. Some of my fingers don't go the right direction anymore, but in the grand scheme of things, those are some of the lesser scars that I have. The big ones are from the time at Shriners.
what's Shriners
yeah.
Hospital, by the way? Is there a Shriners Hospital close to Iowa, or is it one of Spokane?
Not particularly close. The closest one to me was Minneapolis, Minnesota, so
Oh,
about
okay.
a 7-hour drive from my
Yeah,
home.
yeah. Spokane's the one where most folks around here go. But in
Okay,
Montana,
so Josh, this
Go ahead.
video shows uh, images of you literally dragging yourself upstairs
Yeah.
with your wheelchair to go knock on doors and talk to people, which we know is what it takes in states like Iowa and Montana to win as a Democrat. And I'm just wondering, like, what? Tell us something about the reaction. Like, what's the reaction that you got when you first started doing that, and people were like, "How the hell did you get up my staircase?"
Yeah, and when I first decided to run, I knew that that was going to be one of the barriers. I knew in a red district, the only way I was going to have a chance to win as a political unknown was to get face to face with people. And the only way to get face to face with people is to get on their doorstep. And when people think about Iowa, you're thinking about a flat state. I live out here in the Los Hills, and it is very hilly. And so most of the houses that I represent have 10, 20 stairs. And so the same way I was with basketball. I'm going to outwork my opponent. I'm going to go out every single day from June until election day, and I'm just going to crawl stairs and drag my wheelchair up here. I was not very efficient, truthfully. It took me a long time to get up there. But what I found was when I got up on the door, I could be really effective because always, always 100% of the time, very first question, how in the world did you get up here? Well, I crawled up here. That's how important your vote is to me. And I found that even the most hardcore MAGA Republicans would be willing to give me 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of their time, even if nothing else out of sympathy of like, my God, the guy just spent 20 minutes crawling up here. And I always found in 3 or 4 minutes, people listening to my story, why I was running, the kitchen table issues I was talking about, driving down cost, affordable housing, affordable pharmaceuticals and healthcare, which I can speak to with a level of credibility that most can't, doing something about Iowa's growing cancer rate, doing something about our water crisis here in this state. The people said, I don't like all Democrats, and I don't think I'm going to vote for any other Democrat but I like your kind of Democrat, this kind of common sense populist Democrat. I'm going to vote for you. And I think that's why I was able to outperform the top of the ticket the way I was.
Let's talk about that a little bit more. I mean, there's something to talk about too with Agent Orange here and the senator and his work on the PACT Act,
Yeah,
which
absolutely.
expanded benefits for veterans exposed to toxic burn pits and things like Agent Orange. And I know your dad was in Vietnam. But I also want to talk about some of the other themes. I mean, you mentioned, I don't know if it was by name, but you put up pictures of Senator Tom Harkin and talked
Yeah.
about his work on on behalf of people like you when he was in the Senate. And I'm sure Senator Tester has some stories about him that we can get to. But I also want to ask you, because this is a conversation that I have heard so many times right now, while there is a lot of focus on the Republican Party and infighting, there is also a lot of negative opinions surrounding the Democratic Party and
Mhm.
its brand. And I don't know many people who are excited about either party right now. So how do you run as a Democrat and get ahead of that? Like, what's the strategy? And maybe a follow-up question is like what Governor Gavin Newsom is doing right now, just trolling the president in his own kind of style. Like, what's the strategy that you think is going to work for Democrats to kind of, I don't know, clean up their image right now?
I think the strategy that works is what I've been able to do out here. I think you look at a constituency like mine, Council Bluffs and Carter Lake, where you've got a lot of people struggling. Like I said, 65% of the people living at or below the poverty line. I think it actually quite matches what's happened out here in Iowa with the political shift. And I say all the time, the right candidate with the right messaging and the right work ethic, with the last two of those being very, very important. And I went out there and I did not necessarily focus on these divisive culture war issues that the Republicans try to take us the rabbit hole down. Is I talked about the kitchen table issues that actually matter to people. Let's raise the minimum wage. Let's have a livable wage. Let's make sure that we've got accessible and affordable health care. And that's really, really meaningful out here, and especially in the rural communities as you're looking at rural hospitals closing. I mean, we're like dead last in OBGYNs and PMAC beds and I mean, we're dead last in economic growth out here in Iowa. We're the only state in the last 100 years that hasn't doubled in size. These rural communities are getting crushed. We talked about the water crisis. That's something that affects every single person. It doesn't matter where you sit on the political divide and the nitrate levels. We talked about Iowa's cancer rate. That is something that far too often I hear on the doors from people is, I just got diagnosed with cancer. This is something that's touched me personally. My grandmother died of pancreatic cancer. My dad, again, with the Agent Orange exposure, he ended up with stage 4 throat cancer. Thankfully, he survived. He's still here with us. I just found out 2 weeks ago my sister's got breast cancer. These are the things that we should be focusing on. Kitchen table issues, actually solving the problems of what people have. And I would say, I know that to the coast, that Iowa appears as a red state, but we are not. We are a common sense state. For 30 years, we voted for my hero, Senator Tom Harkin. And you look at Trump's last midterm, we won 3 of the 4 congressional seats. We're only 1.5% from having 3 of our 6 statewide officials being Democrat. Is like we are legitimately a common sense state. And I believe, just like I've been able to win out here in deeply red Western Iowa, that a common sense prairie populist can win statewide.
By the way, I agree 100% with that, and I think that the opportunity out there. I mean, I couldn't have said it any better. You got to have somebody that understands rural America, understands Iowa in this case, and somebody who understands that you can't win election by putting out a press release saying you're running and then expect somebody else to do the work for you. Expect somebody else to raise the money for you.
That's right.
Expect somebody else to do the stuff that you have to do to win. Look, it's a pain in the ass to win a statewide election at any level. In the U.S. Senate, it becomes really, really hard. And but it's entirely doable. You just got to buckle up and do it. So yeah, I got a bunch of Harkin stories to tell you, but I'm not gonna.
Can I say one thing really
Yeah, go
quick?
ahead.
Genuinely, is thank you so much for your work on the PACT Act. Is
Yeah,
you know, my father has dealt with a variety of issues due to his exposure. Certainly, myself being born with Agent Orange, I have VA health insurance because of that. And I just want to say, thank you
yeah,
for genuinely looking out for our veterans and those that have been exposed to the burn pits and toxic exposure.
yeah. I will tell you that they earned it, earned every bit of it, and whether they were World War II veterans or gone, whether it was Korea War, Vietnam, the war in the Middle East, whatever, they've all earned that. I was look as long as you brought it up. There was some research being done to determine if Agent Orange passed generations. What I'm saying is that exposure to Agent Orange ends up that your sister has breast cancer, that you have spina bifida. Was any of that done in your family? Just curious.
Yeah, yes, we were part of the genetic testing, and one of the families that was involved in the lawsuit where the government actually admitted culpability on this issue, and
Yeah,
so thankfully for a lot of my healthcare that's related to my spina bifida, it's covered by the VA.
yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad it is still covered by the VA because I get calls every day. I mean, literally emails or calls that I can't do anything about because I was a U.S. senator and I had the ability to impact the situation, but now they got to get a hold of somebody else, and that somebody else on the Republican side, they get a canned email back. They
Yeah,
sometimes don't even get a response, unless, of course, they donated to their campaigns, and then they'll get a response back sometimes. So that's kind of the way that works. But it's the way, unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way at all. You know that. Um,
agreed, and I see the same thing out here. It's it's been a point of personal pride for me to be the first permanently disabled member. But when you're the sole representative for an entire group, the amount of disabled veterans, or
yep,
just even kids that are on Medicaid, or like out here in Iowa,
yeah,
we got 22,000 disabled Iowans that are
yep.
on wait list. The longest is 7 years. The amount of emails that I get on a daily basis of I'm not getting what I need this, I need this, I'm really struggling. I can't get a direct care worker. I can't get in a facility. It's just and it just breaks your heart.
Yeah, and people are. I mean, they're stressed out and they're in crisis. That's why they're getting a hold of me. I mean, they got no other place to turn for God's sakes. But that's the way it is. I'm going to ask the same question that Maritza asked. Not that I ever do this in a little different way. And I thought you answered it very well, by the way, talking about what your foreign kitchen table issues. But what do national Democrats need to do to help you win?
I think national Democrats, we to some degree, I think we've got to get back to being the party of the people and of the working class. And we have got to get back to that the Democrats are the legitimately the party of the people, of the workers, of small family farms, of represent that's it. It's kitchen table issues. We are the party of driving down costs, that we're not we're just not a lesser version of corporations. It's we are the party that wants you to have a livable wage, that wants you to have affordable and accessible healthcare, pharmaceuticals. I think that's certainly it. I also think that we need to change the narrative a little bit, as opposed to vilifying Republicans and saying, "My God, they're dumb. I can't believe all these dumb people voted for Trump." Is to recognize that Trump accurately diagnosed that the status quo is not working for the average American and for the average American middle class family, that the middle class is being eroded. And we need to look internally and say, why are they willing to turn to that as opposed to us? What are we doing? What are we not doing that we need to do? And that's something that I really have focused on my rate of, no, I'm going to be very clear that this is not going to be a lesser of two evils. That when you're going to vote, you're going to be proud to say, I'm voting for this guy because I something different about him, and he's going to fight for Iowans, not just for billionaires or donors.
That's right. And he believes in things that I believe in. Look, I will tell you the whole thing that, look at those guys, they're doing bad shit and we won't do that bad shit philosophy uh, hasn't worked for the last 20 years. It just doesn't work. And it might have worked for a few elections, early part of this millennium, but it doesn't work anymore. And
Certainly not in states of yours or mine.
No, for sure. For sure. People want to vote for something they believe in, not something that is better than bad.
That's right.
And right now, there's a lot of bad shit happening in Washington, D.C. Maritza
So
has a question.
Tusker, I want to know, I mean, you've been through this cycle in Montana
Yeah.
several times. Last one wasn't successful,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering, like, I'll play counselor here. Could you tell the other JT in the room what advice you would give him of what to do and what not to do?
Great
Yeah.
question.
The first thing I'd tell you is don't depend on somebody else to do your work for you.
Yep.
In other words, don't expect John Tester's going to come to Iowa and win the election for you, because that ain't going to happen. Or anybody else, by the way. You pick the best. Pick Tammy Duckworth, who, by the way, also has some issues with mobility.
Yep. Oh yeah,
And
I know her personally.
yeah, and she's a great person and a very smart person. She's not going to win Iowa for you. Okay,
Yep.
you've got to do it. Number two, because they put you in a 4x4 room with no windows and tell you to make phone calls, don't say this is bullshit and I ain't going to do it. And by the way, it's bullshit, but you got to do it.
Yep.
And if you don't do it, you're not going to win. I've had many a candidate walk up and say, you know what? I've made phone calls for hours and hours and hours, and I just don't like doing it. So I'm not going to do it anymore. Guess what? They lost.
Yep.
And they lost by a lot. And that's what happened. In a primary, it's really, really hard too. So you got to have somebody there, um, boosting you up a little bit. I spent 12 hours in one of those little rooms and I raised $50 one day in a primary, because I had a primary in my first election. Yeah, I could have made more money working at McDonald's, a lot more money. And I got done and my fundraiser said, great day. And I said, great day. I've spent from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night on this goddamn phone and I raised $50. That's a great day. And she said, well, if you hadn't done it, you wouldn't have raised anything. So it's the truth. So you got to do your work. And then the other thing is don't get caught up in the national party bullshit. You're correct. You got to talk about kitchen table issues that Iowans believe in, and you got to let Iowans know that you're going to fight for them all the time, and you're not going to fight for anybody else but Iowans. And if you can get that message across, I think you can win. If Joni runs, if she runs, there'll be a lot of money coming to Iowa. There's probably going to be a lot of money anyway, but if she runs, there'll be a lot more money coming to Iowa. So you've got to sort through all that horse shit that lies, by the way, that you can't get off TV anymore.
Yeah.
Or the internet, and get through. But I would just say be committed, have the fire in the belly, and be committed to run. If you're committed to run, and it's something you think about when you get up in the morning, and it's something you think about when you go to bed at night, you got a chance. But you also got to realize, and all those people say, well, I knew I was going to win from the day I filed, it's total horseshit. The truth is that if you run, you got two options. You're either going to win or you're going to lose.
Mm-hmm.
And either one of them are possible, especially in a tough state like Iowa. And so you got to work like you're behind by 10 points every day. And you got to understand that this isn't a sprint, this is a marathon. So every day you get work done early, that's work you won't have to do later, because there will be other work you have to do then. So
yeah,
I don't know what to tell you.
That sounds like some farming. That sounds like some farming advice too.
I feel I'll tell you this from my life, that the great thing is when you overcome an enormous amount of adversity and struggle early in life, it puts a mental strength and a character in you that can't be broken. And I would also say, as someone that has won gold medals in these long-term goals and the discipline and the hard work and the dedication, I feel like I'm uniquely prepared for this challenge.
The other thing is that I would tell you that I would focus on as much as possible when somebody asks you a question, answer the question. Don't
Yeah.
don't talk like a goddamn politician that says everything but the answer. But it
Yeah.
sounds really pretty, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
People expect an answer when they asked you a question. So even if it's an answer that they don't like, you still got to tell them the answer. And if they don't like it, well, then maybe I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
But if they do like it, they will appreciate the fact that you're direct and that you understand. The other thing I would say is this, and this is the most important thing, and I forgot to say at the beginning. You got two ears, you got one mouth, act accordingly. When you go up to the door, you shouldn't be talking about what you believe in. You should ask what they're concerned about. Or you're in a group, say, look, I've been hearing about healthcare. I've been hearing about prescription drug prices. I've been hearing about local rural hospitals being closed down because of Medicaid going away, all that stuff. And then say, how many people agree with that? Is that what you guys' challenges are? And if you're in a big group, let's say you got 300 people there, you always say, what's your challenge? Raise your hand. Let's hear what you got to say. Let the people talk. Let the people get some shit off their their minds too. So anyway,
It's great,
you
Rob.
can
Okay.
win. Anybody can win any state, I believe, if they're willing to put in the time, the work, and get her done.
Right candidate, right message, right work ethic. Can I ask you a question quickly?
Sure, you
Well, I've
can. I'm
got
just
you.
going to call. You got it now.
And
Listen,
I want to direct one now that you've put that out
on
there.
these
Is
podcasts, Maritza usually asks for a little. You got to get us 5 paid subscribers if you ask me a question. Okay, go ahead.
I'll see what I can do. I hope.
Okay,
I only announced on Tuesday, so I don't know if the name recognition is out there to get you. But 5's a low bar. Maybe we can do that.
that's
Here's
right.
my
Maybe we can
question
do
to
it.
you: Is do you consider yourself, well, obviously, visible disability? I'm a wheelchair user. I certainly consider myself a member of the disability community and a disabled American. Do you consider yourself as well a member of the disabled community?
No,
Okay.
no.
Let's tell our
Is
viewers who might not know your story what
is
he's talking about.
is
Senator Tester's missing some fingers.
is that direct enough? That's the question. Yeah, I got in a fight with a meat grinder when I was 9 years old. Okay, uh, um, Josh didn't have any choice in what he got in. I did something pretty stupid, and it wasn't anybody's fault but my own. And my folks, um, and I think this is important. I think it's important in everybody's case. You've got an obvious disability. Everybody knows you're disabled, but you don't act like you're disabled. You climb the stairs if you got to climb the stairs. And I think that's really important. And my folks would never allow me to feel sorry for myself. They would never allow me to use this as an excuse for anything that I wanted to do. And I think that's important. Look, are there certain things that I can't do very well? Yeah, you'll appreciate this. I don't go left in basketball very well. Okay. Because it's on my left hand. But the truth is that I can take an oil filter off a vehicle oftentimes when nobody else can because I can fit that hand in there and get around it and do it. So there's some positives too. Just as there's positives to everything, including being in a wheelchair. I mean, it's the way it is. So you emphasize the positive, you de-emphasize the negative. So
That's exactly right.
I do not classify myself as somebody that has to be in a wheelchair or somebody that has a artificial leg or even a disability like cancer, which is a disability. I don't fall into that same bracket. Someday probably will if I live long enough. But as Joan Ears says, we're going to die anyway. What the hell?
We're all gonna
But
die. But let me
don't
tell you what, they
don't
love
work.
him in Hawaii.
Don't
They
yeah.
love him in.
We went. 1993 was my folks' 50th wedding anniversary. We went to Hawaii and they went to a luau, and my brothers put the guy up on stage and to call me up stage. And he looked at my hand and he was, the MC was speechless. He didn't know what the hell to say.
Well,
All right.
I can appreciate my parents were the exact same way. They never allowed me to feel sorry for myself. They treated me the exact same way in life. Sometimes you win the genetic lottery,
Yep.
sometimes you lose it. You can't control the hands, the cards that you get in life. All you can do is play the hand the best that you've got.
Bingo, baby. You got it. Well, Josh,
Senator, do you have can you give us a small Harkin story? Just a small one before you have to get on the combine?
there are no
Have
small Harkin stories. I can tell you I went to
Okay.
Cuba with God damn it, what's her name?
Senator Harkin,
North Dakota. Oh, she's going to kill me if she watches this.
Heidi.
Heidi
Heidi.
Heitkamp with Heidi Heitkamp and Bernie Sanders and Tom Harkin. And we went down and we toured it anyway. Long story short, Harkin did not do the first trip part of the day. The second day we went to Guantanamo. At any rate, I came back and I thought our car was our car, and I thought there was two of them. So myself and Bernie left in one car and left another car for Heidi. And Heidi, it wasn't our car, so Heidi was stuck at the airport. And anyway, long story short, she came back. Harkin met us at the hotel, and I said to Harkin, I said, I forgot Heidi back at the airport. And Harkin looked at me and he said, you're just lucky that it wasn't Barbara Mikulski because she would have killed you. And so, and by the way, he was right because Barbara Mikulski scared the shit out of me just walking down the hallway. If I'd have left her at the airport, it would have been bad news. Heidi took it in stride, as Heidi always did, and it worked out.
Yeah. Senator Harkin.
By the way,
is
to
my
top things
political
off,
hero.
you didn't have when you went to Cuba, you had to leave your cell phone. She didn't have no way of contact us because the cell phone was.
Oh.
Yeah, so she was kind of there on her own for a while, right? Going to ride with
So-
Trump. Anyway, what were you going to say, Josh?
I was going to say Senator Harkin is my political hero, and I'm someone that's very fortunate. For 30 years here in Iowa, he was our senator. His work on the American with Disabilities Act is the only reason I've been able to have the success that I had in life. It literally provided a ramp to society for me and provided me the educational and occupational opportunities that have allowed me to thrive in this country. And this is what I want to get back to is Iowans deserve a senator that's like Senator Harkin, that's going to fight for social safety nets and fight for social and economic justice and fight for the most vulnerable. That's what we need to get back to.
Well, I mean, I served with Harkin for a fair amount of the time that he was in. A fair amount of time I was in the Senate. He was in much longer than I. And I can tell you without any question, this dude got up every morning fighting for the regular guy.
Yeah.
Just fought for regular folks every day. And I compare him when I was there to Teddy Kennedy, Jesus, if I could only think of, to the senators up in North Dakota that were my heroes, by the way, and just did an amazing job. Great speaker, incredibly normal, common sense guy. And to be honest with you, Iowa, when they lost Harkin, they lost an important guy. And it was unfortunate he was getting older and decided to retire, but he was an important guy for the United States and an important guy for Iowa.
Well, I think it would be beautifully poetic if the man that worked with the father of the American with Disabilities Act now, 12 years later, is someone is only here because of the ADA and the ADA generation that would be able to get his seat back.
Yep. Well, no doubt about it. If you're able to get in the United States Senate, which I think if you work hard you can, I think that you'll bring a perspective that not a lot of people have that serve. So, good luck to you.
Well, we didn't have time, Josh, to debate which state fair is better, Minnesota or Iowa, but we'll save that for another day. And we want to thank you so much for your time on our show, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Senator. Really enjoyed this. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Be well. Good luck. Work hard.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator, let's wrap this up. We got to talk about your hat, but any final thoughts after that conversation?
Well, I mean, look, I think if he's got a 5-way primary, that's going to be hard. It's going to be really tough, but primaries are tough. There'll probably be a couple of them drop out before the primary comes around because not everybody does have the fire in the belly. But we'll see. And I don't know what the other people are like. They might be great too.
Right. Yeah. Well, already people are watching Iowa as we kind of piece together what this map looks like toward the next election. So people are talking about Iowa. All right,
the most important thing here is that he's running. He wants the job. His priorities are in the right spot, and he's giving people a choice when they go to the ballot box. I think all that's really important.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to do, and you're putting yourself and your family out there. Okay, Pat, I can't see that. What does that say?
So it's byep.org. It's a youth empowerment group down in Bozeman, and they might be national as far as that goes. But I like the hat because nobody can read it, and I can wear it. They only stare at you for so long, and then they move on. So it's good.
Big Sky Youth Empowerment. That's good. It's not as good as Not Tame, Not Trained. That's the hat I'm going to wear to let people know to watch out for me. Leave me alone. No, just kidding.
No, I agree. I think it's 100% correct. Don't never want to have the wrath of the pizza on. I mean, Maritza on you.
Oh yeah, that's right. Maritza Pizza. Okay. Some housekeeping here in a few days. I'm very excited about this. We have New York Times columnist and 3-time Pulitzer Prize winner Tom Friedman coming on the show on Tuesday. I'm very excited about that one.
Well, I'm excited too, except for one thing. This dude is smart as hell, and
Scary.
I'm on a damn combine. I can't sit around thinking about how things are supposed to work in the world and all that stuff. But well, we'll give it a go. Hopefully, the listeners will be patient with me and forgiving.
Yes, and if you have questions for Tom Friedman, please send them to us. Also, we should mention we talked about Josh Turek's campaign launch video. It is embedded in the Substack posts I put up yesterday. And then before you go, remind our viewers and listeners what you need: a 36-foot Draper header that fits a 2588 Case 1H combine. Did I get
Case,
it?
that's not 1H. It's case
Case
I. Case
oh my.
international. Okay. Jesus, this is bad as M son.
I got it. I was close. I didn't put an I. My eye looked like a 1. Okay. Yes.
It's crazy. What can I say?
So he needs a 36-foot Draper header that fits a 2588 Case IH combine.
And I don't want one that's wore out. I want one that's in good shape. And I'll get one this winter, by the way. I'll find one. But
So if you know of anybody, you
yeah,
know where to find us. He's in
that's
desperate need.
no, I'm not in desperate need, but I'd probably buy it. It's
All
good.
right. Sounds good.
I don't
All
want to be
right.
in
Thanks for.
desperate need because people take advantage of people who are desperate. Okay.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, people take advantage of anybody these days.
Well,
You
that's
can
true.
find us here on Substack, of course. Thanks for getting up early with us. Blue Sky, Instagram, YouTube. You can shoot us an email at groundedpcast@gmail.com. This only works because of your support and your willingness to come listen to us just blabber and blabber and blabber. And we want to thank our guest, Josh Turek of Iowa, our friends at Pearl Jam for letting us use their music. And to all of you, we'll chat again soon.
Tally ho.
Bye.